Prior to the emergence of sociology, the study of society was carried on in an unscientific manner, and society had never been the central concern of any science. The study of sociology has a great value, especially in modern complex society. The study of sociology helps us to know not only about our society and man, but also others, their motives, aspirations, status, occupations, traditions, customs, institutions, and cultures. It is through the study of sociology that the truly scientific study of the society has been possible. Sociology, because of its bearing upon many of the problems of the present world, has assumed such a great importance that it is considered to be the best approach to all the social sciences. What is the proper task of the sociologist? Is it merely to observe human action with the calm, detached curiosity of the ecologist who counts the sheep as they dive into the sea? Or should the sociologist rush into social action? Should the professor of the sociology encourage students to develop a detached understanding of social phenomena, or inspire them to man the barricades of the social reform? What is the proper role for the sociologist in a changing society? In this lesson, let us understand the role that the sociologists play in the modern society. Sociologist as a research scientist. Like all scientists, sociologists are concerned with both collecting and using knowledge, conducting scientific research. As a scientist, the sociologist's foremost task is to discover and organize knowledge about social life. A number of full-time research sociologists are employed by universities, government agencies, foundations, or corporations, and many sociologists divide their time between teaching and research. Many university sociologists are engaged in funded research, with all or part of their salaries and their research expenses paid from research grants made by government agencies, foundations, or corporations. These grants are made to sociologists who submit an acceptable proposal for research on a particular topic. Since little research can be conducted without research funds, this gives the funding agencies great power to influence the direction of sociological research. Radical critics of sociology, including some sociologists, claim that behind a facade of ethical neutrality and objective, sociologists have prostituted their research talents to the support of the interests of the funding agencies and have supported militarism, racism, and other forms of oppression. Whether sociological research has been widely corrupted in this manner may be debated. Horton and Bauma, 1971. What is indisputable is that problems of bias and partnership are present in all research, and that research findings are often helpful to the interests of some people and damaging to the interests of other people. Even the definition of a research problem may carry an implicit bias. For example, if we state a research problem as what characteristics of poor people contribute to their poverty, we imply that the responsibility rests mainly on the poor people themselves. But if we define the problems as what social arrangements produce poverty, then the responsibility is placed upon society. Throughout most of the history of sociology, sociologists were often accused of being radical subversives whose research and teaching were a threat to established institutions and vested interests. Many older sociologists today, still bearing the scars of the anti-communist witch hunts of the 1950s, are puzzled and hurt when students and younger sociologists accuse them of having been lackeys of capitalistic oppression all their lives. But the question to society is as old as science itself, and will not soon be settled. Correcting popular nonsense. Another task of the sociologist as a scientist is to clear away the intellectual rubbish of misinformation and superstition which clutters so much of our social thinking. Sociologists have helped to bury a great deal of nonsense about heredity, race, class, sex differences, deviation, and nearly every other aspect of behavior. It is due partially to the findings of sociology that today we rarely hear an educated person argue that the white race is innately superior, that women are intellectually inferior to men, that behavior traits are inherited, or that rural people are less immoral than urbanities, ideas which nearly every educated person accepted a half-century ago. By helping replace superstition and misinformation with accurate knowledge about human behavior, sociologists are perhaps performing their most important function, making sociological predictions. Sociologists make sociological predictions. Most social science prediction consists not of predicting specific developments as the astronomer predicts an eclipse, but of forecasting the general pattern of trends and changes which seems most probable. All such predictions or forecasts should be offered with certain humility, for no certainty attends them. Instead, social scientists offer them as the best, most informed guesses available upon which to base our policy decisions and expectations for the future. Sociological prediction can also help to estimate the probable effects of a social policy. Although the track record of sociologists in making social predictions is not impressive, someone must make social predictions. Every policy decision is based upon certain assumptions about the present and future state of society. A legislator who says we need more severe penalties to curb drug pushing is predicting that more severe penalties actually will curb the narcotics business without creating even greater problems. Another legislator who says legalize marijuana is making a set of predictions about the consequences of this action. Thus, every policy recommendation inevitably implies a set of assumptions and predictions. What sort of predictions do sociologists offer? Here are a few samples offered without explanation or documentation at this point as examples of the kind of predictions sociologists can make. The trend toward employment of women will continue until most women are working for most of their married lives. Birth rates will fall to approach death rates, or death rates will rise to approach birth rates. Despite some experimentation with alternatives, the monogamous nuclear family will continue to be the basic family type. The present popularity of jeans and casual clothing among young people will be followed by a return of high-style clothing. The recent trend onward early retirement will soon be replaced by efforts to lengthen the work career. Most social science prediction consists not of predicting specific developments as the astronomer predicts an eclipse, but of forecasting the general pattern of trends and changes which seem most probable. For example, Bell, The Coming of a Post-Industrial Society, a venture in social forecasting, 1973. All such predictions or forecasts should be offered with a certain humility, for no certainty attends them. Instead, social scientists offer them as the best, most informed guesses available upon which to base our policy decisions and expectations for the future. Sociologists as a policy consultant, technician, and teacher, sociological prediction can also help to estimate the probable effects of a social policy. Every social policy decision is a prediction. A policy is begun in the hope that it will produce a desired effect. For example, narrow the educational gap between poorer and more prosperous children. Policies have often failed because they embodied unsound assumptions and predictions. Sociologists can help to predict the effects of a policy and thus contribute to the selection of policies which achieve the intended purposes. For example, what effect does dropping out of a high school have upon a youth's future earnings? Little or none when other factors are equal. What would be the effect of a intensified law enforcement upon campus marijuana use? Little or no reduction with aggravation of other student police problems. Would low birth rates and a small family norm increase marital happiness? There is a research evidence that smaller families are better off in every way. Would publishing the names of juvenile delinquents help to reduce delinquency, or does it likely to increase it? Would the suppression of obscene literature help to reduce sex crime and sex immorality? Would legal barriers to abortion strengthen family life? Most sociologists believe this would increase illegitimate births, unwanted children, child abuse, and family discord. These are a few of many social policy questions which sociologists could help to settle. One of the greatest services any sociology group can offer is to show the society what policies are most likely to work in achieving its objectives. This is a service which sociologists are qualified to perform. Some sociologists are engaged in planning and conducting community action programs, advising on public relations, employee relations, and working on human relations problems. Sociologist as a technician. Some sociologists are engaged in planning and conducting community action programs, advising on public relations, employee relations, problems of morale or of intergroup relations within the organization, working on human relations problems of many sorts. Often these sociologists have specialized in social psychology, industrial sociology, urban or rural sociology, or the sociology of complex organizations. Recently, the term clinical sociologist has appeared to describe the work of a sociologist as technician, Gardner, 1978. To some extent, this is a new name for what sociologists have been doing for a long time, but it also includes a considerable broadening of the range of sociologists' efforts to be useful in society. In such positions, the sociologist is working as an applied scientist. He or she has been engaged to use scientific knowledge in pursuing certain values, a harmonious and efficient working force, an attractive public image of the industry, or an effective community action program. This role raises a question of ethics. When a sociologist accepts employment as a technician, pursuing values chosen by an employer, has scientific integrity been compromised? To make an extreme example, there is evidence, Monroe 1962, that gambling operators engaged social scientists to find out why people do or do not gamble so that the operators could learn how to attract more customers. It is not known whether sociologists actually participated in this. Would this be a form of scientific prostitution? The radical critics of establishment sociology charge that sociologists have sold out whenever they serve as technicians or research scholars in any kind of effort to maintain or improve the efficiency of government, military, capitalistic, or welfare establishments. Thus, not only are sociologists working in war-related activities condemned, but even sociologists working in programs to improve the health of poor children in Mississippi, to increase agricultural output in Peru, or to teach birth control in village of India are sometimes accused of supporting oppression. This is the classic view of the revolutionist. Any attempt to make the present system work better or to help people find better lives within the system is oppressive, because it helps to perpetuate the system. There is no simple answer to the question of what clinical appointments it is proper for the sociologist to accept. Each sociologist's answer will be found partially in the prevailing views of the academic world at the moment and partially in his or her own conscience. Sociologist as a teacher. Teaching is the major career of many sociologists. In addition to the concern and problems of teaching in any field, the problem of value neutrality versus value commitment is a particularly acute question. The ethics of university teaching have demanded that the teacher refrain from all conscious indoctrination, but it is debatable. Scientists seek to discover knowledge, but should they tell the society how this knowledge should be used? The basic question is whether science, specifically sociology, should be value-free. For example, sociologists know some things about population growth, race relations, urban development, and many other matters involving questions of public policy. Early sociologists gave support to all sorts of public policies they believed in. Between 1920 and 1940, many sociologists shifted to the view that sociology should be more nearly pure science, discovering knowledge but not attempting to decree how it should be used. They sought to build sociology on the model of physics as a value-free science. As such, it should be committed to no values except those of free scientific inquiry. Sociologist and social action. Scientists seek to discover knowledge. Should scientists also tell the society how this knowledge should be used? For example, the geneticists already know something about human heredity, and before very long it may be possible to control the genetic makeup of babies and order babies according to a specifications list. Who should dedicate what sort of baby should go to whom? Scientists, parents, government? The basic question is whether science, specifically sociology, should be value-free. For example, sociologists know certain things about population growth, race relations, urban development, and many other matters involving questions of public policy. Should sociologists become public advocates of birth control programs, legalized abortion, women's liberation, legalized marijuana, racial integration, and many other programs which they may consider socially desirable? Early sociologists gave an emphatic yes to this question. Without an adequate foundation of scientific knowledge, they rushed to support all sorts of public policies they believed wise. Between 1920 and 1940, many sociologists shifted to the view that sociology should be more nearly pure science, discovering knowledge but not attempting to decree how it should be used. They sought to build sociology on the model of physics or chemistry as a value-free science. As such, it should be committed to no values except those of free scientific inquiry. Sociologists generally avoided involvement in controversial issues and sought the status of pure social scientists. More recently, this view has been challenged in both physical and social science. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists carries many articles by scientists urging their fellows to claim a larger role in deciding the uses of nuclear science discoveries. Many sociologists today believe that sociologists should claim a major role in making decisions about public policy and should involve themselves in the major issues of our society. Lightsmith, 1960, Horowitz, 1964, Steen and Witch, 1964, A. Lee, 1966, 1973, 1978, Becker, 1967. They charge that sociologists have buried themselves in safe research topics, leaving the really important questions to non-sociologists. Questions such as how can poverty be reduced? How can school be integrated? How can communities be organized for more civilized social living? Should the goals and values of the society be altered to promote human welfare? They feel that not only do sociologists have a duty to say what society might do about problems of race conflict, population growth, birth control, drug addiction, divorce, and medical care, but that sociologists have a duty to say what our society should do about such problems. Books like Sociologists Putting Sociology to Work 1947 provide concrete example of how sociologists are involving themselves in social issues and constructive social action and show what they have learned from these experiences. Sociology today, in common with all the other social sciences, has some members who insist that both individually and as an academic discipline, sociology should openly and publicly support the radical reconstruction of society. This question is receiving much attention in sociological literature. Douglas 1970, Lee 1978, Harris 1980. Whether sociology should be value-free is an unsettled question, but sociologists are agreed upon the following propositions. Sociologists should show the relationships between values. If we wish to clean up polluted rivers, we must be prepared to spend a lot of tax money in doing so. Sociologists may clarify what value sacrifices must be made if we wish to attain certain other values. A sociologist, as an individual, may properly make value judgments, support causes, and join reform movements like any other citizen. As a scientist, the sociologist may not know whether the television violence is harmful to children and therefore might not make public recommendations, but as a parent will make a decision according to the personal beliefs and values. Beyond this, there is no complete agreement among sociologists concerning what role they should assume. Most sociologists have some firm opinions on what policies society should follow and are in considerable agreement with one another upon many of these policies. One of the crucial roles of the sociologist studying his or her own society is to provide portraits of institutions and processes. This is a difficult task, especially when it is changing rapidly. It involves not only the collection of facts but their interpretation, and this calls for detachment and sensitivity. This task is all the more difficult in a society as big, diverse, stratified, and complex as India. We need to understand that the sociologist is also a citizen and the two roles cannot be entirely discrete. Conclusion. Sociologists have helped to clear doubts about hereditary, race, class, sex differences, deviation, and nearly every other aspect of behavior. By helping replace superstition and misinformation with accurate knowledge about human behavior, sociologists are performing their most important role. Sociologists generally avoided involvement in controversial issues and sought the status of pure social scientists. This view has been challenged in both physical and social science. Many sociologists today believe that the sociologists should claim a major role in making decisions about public policy and should involve themselves in the major issues of our society. They feel that not only do sociologists have a duty to say what society might do about problems of race conflict, population growth, birth control, drug addiction, and divorce, but the sociologists should say what society should do about such problems. You need to understand that a sociologist has no ready-made solutions to problems such as communalism, linguism, regionalism, and casteism. Sociologists are trained for several years to observe systematically and interpret the observed facts. They have their own methods and techniques of gathering data and are trained to exercise detachment as well as empathy in the study of problems and people. Above all, sociologists have the sociological approach which tries to perceive relationships between seemingly discrete facts. A total view of the society as an ongoing system lies at the background of the sociologist's analysis, and facts and processes are viewed against this background.